Just waiting for a few minutes before we start.
Video is looking at the thumbnail. I just like deer in the headlights, and you, I don't know, did a bad thing, like a naughty kitty.
Hey, Rim. Oh, I'm not muted. Ah, there, muted.
So we're talking RPG, well, tabletop games, not just RPGs today.
Mm-hmm.
After finishing today's RPG session, so and I'm stirring. It's not the tea, just it's keto hot chocolate.
Or for those who watch Get Out, it's mind control.
You're only saying it because I didn't watch Get Out, and will most likely not watch it.
You should.
Yeah, and now you're just like saying things.
Mm-hmm. Well, I still do have the Fifth Element haircut. I just need the plastic brain protector. I'm still waiting for the YouTube live monitor.
Do a full refresh of the tab. Don't just click the icon. I think that helps. Takes a while to connect now.
Yeah. Buti na lang we have our intro. Hey, Jeanette. Hey, Mitch. Hey, McCoy. So yeah, we are wearing our matching floral polos.
Yeah, it's like summer collection last year at Old Navy.
Hey, Adrian. So nice to have you all with us as we prepare to talk about the games we are playing.
It's weird. Why is it
Currently,
not
I
connecting?
don't still see the YouTube feed.
I'm checking. Oh, there. I see it when I go to like YouTube homepage.
Ta-da. Yes. Okay, loading it.
That's weird.
I know. I'm so red. I look like I have sunburn.
Sure, it's not your monitor. Sometimes it's like also your display settings. I know I got my blue light on a lot of times. Blue light filter.
Could be. Well, I haven't really adjusted my monitor in a long time. Hey, David! So yes, just go. Oh my God! Yeah, we hit 11 for a brief moment, but I wasn't able to launch it. It went back down to 9. So, saying hello to everyone who has started to join us. Mitch has commented that given the recent weather, the heat does feel like it's summer.
Yeah.
My connection's choppy. David says the shirts you were wearing when Ed and I had our first time.
Really?
Obar.
Oh, funny.
Yeah. It's also interestingly, it's still a nice fit, but it also feels looser than before.
That's good. Despite you just eating a bowl of ice cream with like, I was creepy watching you do your thing.
A bowl of ice cream with the overburnt brownies.
Yeah, Toby keeps calling it his dirt. It's like this microwavable full of brown stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's not quite a brownie.
And it's admittedly so much better. Ah! We haven't even started yet! Yay! We feel the love. We feel the love. Closer. It's 9:01, so I guess we can officially start if everyone's ready. Hey, Andre, watching from YouTube.
Hey. I'm like very briefly checking up something from my mom, but okay, let's start the show.
Yeah, so I guess we're ready for another 30 minutes of something all about Baduy Pride.
Hey,
shall we start?
What's this? What's this
Starting
dialogue?
now. This is Toby.
And this is Rocky.
And if it's your first time here, welcome to Baduy Pride, a little space on the internet where we talk about anything we want.
This is completely unscripted and not entirely accurate, but at least it's honest. Join us as we talk about everything and anything random live.
And if it's not your first time here, Shark! Thank you so much for your continued support. Thank you for always joining us every 9 p.m. when we have the show. And please share the link so others may find it. We're going to spend 30 minutes now talking about
tabletop games we're playing this September. So this may become a monthly thing. I think we can do it for the first weekend. We can always do the TV thing like we did yesterday, and then we're just going to talk about games we're playing today. It also means we don't have to prepare as much because we tend to still be busy with games over the weekends.
Admittedly, this also allows us to give you a glimpse of what we're doing at this point in time. So as the episodes progress, you can see, last 2020, because it's now 2025, the show's been 5 years.
Wow.
What were they
projecting,
playing back
aren't we?
then and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, and then my comment, I think that, button-down shirts. Yeah, so we are at the button-down phase of our couple shirts collection. I think we're down to mainly button-down shirts. But we're running out. We're running out. I don't think we're going to hit 30.
We're so far at 24 episodes of not repeating any shirts.
Yes, it's amazing. I think there are a few more that are like not perfect matches, but hey, whatever, it works. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I didn't make any more captions, just like yesterday. But so our tabletop game experience is divided into two main areas: the board games, which is as a collective term for board games, card games, tile-laying games, and the like. And then, of course, our RPGs and
tabletop role-playing games.
Yes, and this we still have managed to keep a bunch of long-running campaigns going. I think almost, like, if we do make this episode format monthly, you're going to hear about a lot of these same games monthly. But, Toby, why don't you take it away?
Well, when it comes to role-playing games, one has to consider the fact that there are different ways to play it. Some people play it as one-shot experiences wherein you have a story or a session for one sitting, and then after that, it's done. You play a new game. We admittedly have been celebrating a lot of what we call campaign play or longer play sessions. And the first on the list, I'm not sure if I'm going by age though, would be...
what do you mean? There's a longest running campaign? Or
well, in terms of our ongoing campaigns.
Yeah, but age of what? What do you mean age?
Well...
age of the players involved, then I know what game we're gonna start with.
That's spoiler. Shady Shark. We need a Shady Shark. So we have been playing something called the Great Pendragon campaign.
Awesome
which,
stuff.
Actually started way back in
2017. Our campaign started 2017.
September 9.
Yeah.
2017. So it's literally just a few days from now in terms of its...
We didn't do anything special except me not dying. So, yay.
But yeah, so way back in September 2017, we decided to take the plunge and play the King Arthur's Pendragon game system, which is an old game where you play knights, and a large part of the game is actually making sure that your family line extends and continues.
Yeah, so the game plays out sort of in quote unquote real time throughout the starting with the Uther Pendragon period. So before Arthur is like even a thing.
Yes.
And then you really play through every year, and thus your characters have a tendency to age out or die out, and that keeps things going.
Now, as a normal Pendragon game won't necessarily go through that whole experience. But since we are playing the Great Pendragon campaign, which is a campaign book written specifically to experience that, we have been enjoying the fact that the game is now exploring the third generation.
Well, for me, second. For other people, I don't know. There have been a few character deaths.
And that's part of what makes the game fun. Because unlike most role-playing games wherein you become so invested in a character that either the GM has to cheat in some of the scenes and allow the character to live longer, or on the other hand, the players simply don't care, lose a character, create a new one. The Great Pendragon campaign actually encourages players to to keep at it, to keep going, because they want to see how their families uh, grow in glory. It can even include um, families extending as they marry and gain more kids.
Adrian shares factoid: the TRPG hobby is 46 years old. And Adrian's a good person to trust for information like this.
Yes.
I will just say that.
He is old enough to know.
I didn't want to stress that. He is also in the Pentagon campaign. Yeah, so haven't I like me personally, I've only had actually my original character is still around, but he's like super old. And sorry, you start being quote unquote old in Pentagon once you're past 35.
So if you're curious to trying the game, I can say if you're someone who liked the Game of Thrones TV series in the sense that you like to play something that might be expansive with all these characters,
and you're worried about like building a family, lines of succession,
it would be a nice thing.
Who's going to be taking care of your horse?
But likewise, if you enjoyed shows that are much more smaller in terms of the cast of characters like Cursed or even Merlin, the show still has the capacity to fulfill something.
We can't
like
keep talking about Cursed. I'm like, I don't want to talk about Cursed anymore.
With that, we are moving. So from the Great Pentagon campaign, another game that we have been playing quite often is Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition.
Yes.
Now, Vampire the Masquerade was a game system that came out sometime in the 90s. I will not give specific dates because we shall be nice to each other. But
Toby was around for that too.
But for our Vampire campaign, we started last, what was this? 8/7/2019.
Yeah, last year, August.
And we have been playing. We're currently on our 28th episode. Our game is set in the streets of Chicago, and the players have
Which is totally different because most of our games tend to be in New York
or fictional city that's like New York.
Yeah, we tend to be using New York as a template. It's I don't know. Everybody's just used to it. It's an RPG thing.
So Vampire the Masquerade has players portraying the roles of people who have become vampires, and by vampires, they then are at the risk of losing their human side as they fall into the beast or gain stains on their soul. The game's main books are set in Chicago as one of the main cities, but it's not limited there. They have a book for London, and they're working on other books as well. And part of what makes the game interesting is the fact that it tries to have that feeling of a real modern day world, but with a fantastic element that's hidden in the shadows. It's the 5th edition of the game, and that simply means there have been a lot of different rule changes throughout the editions. There are still some purists who feel certain editions are better. We were in that boat at some point when the game was first announced. But as we started to learn the system,
and especially because when the 20th anniversary edition of Vampire came out, and then that was like a celebration of all the old systems.
It's like it was almost like within the year
they also did V5. Yeah.
And we at that time we were like, why? Because 20th edition's awesome. But then when we started to get into it, we found out how they tossed away Blood Pool, and now it's this hunger rating that constantly does remind you that you are awesome with your powers, but if your hunger goes high,
you can't just burn through. You can't just become like you can't just increase your blood capacity.
You aren't anymore. You aren't anymore a superhero with a gas tank.
Yes, you're a superhero with a luck problem because you have to roll. You have to roll hunger every now and then.
The game also uses an interesting dice system, which again at the start I hated, but as I saw it in play, I realized it's quite great in how it reminds you that the characters are still monsters.
Yeah, because
at any moment they can have those
messy criticals. Because there's hunger dice and regular dice, and the only difference is if you get a critical, which is a 10 on a D10. If you get a critical with one of your regular dice and your hunger dice, then it becomes a messy critical. And so you get what you want, but
the beast rises to the surface. So maybe you get what you want, you intimidate the guard, but you do it by tearing off an arm.
We've had messy investigation rolls, messy charisma rolls. It's like, what's going on? I'm just trying to have a conversation. So it's a unique aspect of the system.
The game carries the meta plot of the previous editions to some degree. So if you played Vampire the Masquerade in the past and you were aware of stories like the Coming of Gehenna, the appearance of the Anti-Helios or the Red Star, Then fifth edition still allows you to squeeze those into the story to some degree, but at the same time, it does allow a huge, I guess you could say, sandbox to play in because they did enough changes that you don't have to feel like you're way behind in catching up in the story. Problem with some games is that there's so much meta plot written that if you're a new player, you feel obligated to read everything, so you play it right. Vampire the Fifth Edition was smart enough in allowing a shift in terms of how things work to make it much more accessible to a wider group of people.
Yeah, so and we reached the point in the game where I am sheriff
Mhm.
already. That's an interesting bit of progress, a lot of responsibility.
The group was originally the VEM, which
Yeah,
was the group handling,
vampire
Cleanup.
cleanup, not CSI, vampire cleanup. Yeah,
but now that so stories have progressed from one of the players being a primogen at one point, and then the other players having now gained enough clout that many of the elders call actually them for their advice and their help. It's been an interesting development in the story.
yeah, and then at one point someone was primogen. I mean,
Mhm.
it's a very maturing, fast maturing game because we play almost weekly. So that's Pendragon is also an almost weekly game,
Mhm.
barring challenges. The other game that's ongoing is Wraith.
Yes, Wraith the Oblivion.
Wraith the Oblivion, where that admittedly is a little heavy. That's a bi-monthly game, and when I say bi-monthly, I mean every other week. Because never mind, I'll get into that whole thing.
So that one started last 8/11/2019. We're currently on the 14th episode. We like calling them episodes because we like structuring our games like TV shows.
Yes.
And it all starts with a bunch of Wraiths. Well, sorry. Wraith the Oblivion is first all about playing people who have died and have not moved on.
Yes.
And while you find the reasons for not moving on as something that makes sense, I don't want to move on because I love my wife, or I don't want to move on because I need to find my killer. There's a darker part of you that has accepted the fact you're dead. So it tries to goad you into letting go and giving it all up.
Okay.
So it's not necessarily wrong,
We're going very heavy into explaining all these games.
but
It'll
it's
be
still
lighter
waiting
next
for them
month.
to get a few.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. You gotta
So-
explain.
So it's not necessarily wrong, but it then becomes that nice dynamic of, you're being selfish, but being selfish means you stay in the game longer because you're alive. But then you can let go, which is sometimes the right thing to do, but doing that means the shadow wins. So will you? And it's that nice dynamic. The players are all people who have been drawn together by the events happening in the city.
I don't know when we lost it.
We lost it.
Oh yeah, and it's 9:13, 9:14.
It's so spooky that it really happens at that time. Okay, it just went black in the monitor. Oh my god, and it goes dark. Your mentions.
As we're talking about Orpheus, the screen goes dark.
So yeah, there, the monitor's back. Oh my god, that was 9:13 again, 9:14. It's so odd that it really happens at that time. So yeah, the players are all people who passed away, and they've kind of found each other as they try to understand their new existence.
And we just roll with it. Like just keep going.
Only to discover that they're suddenly caught up in events that are much larger than themselves. And I love how in that game we have all this intricate little individual story arcs that are getting developed. But at the same time, there is that nice strengthening community between the player characters as they realize that when you're dead, maybe letting go of the living is the best choice.
Mm. It's heavy stuff, and actually, we've been discussing like creating a B game for the
Mhm.
group because maybe lockdown is not the best time
Yes.
to play heavy material on a regular
Prior
basis.
to lockdown, it was fine.
Yeah, because we were
enjoying.
meeting once a month and it was like okay.
But then with lockdown, we started to realize the game itself has too many parallels to real life. I mean, in the game as wraiths, anything that is not wraithy, that touches you, it passes through you because it tears your material, your corpus. So you're forced to actually avoid things so that you don't, tear yourself up, which suddenly parallels the pandemic where you're not touching people and you have to be.
It's strange, and I can't even spend corpus,
Yeah.
So
we've realized that we are considering looking at an alternative, happier game for that group, and we're most likely going to dive back into Ryutama.
Ryutama, the
Ryutama.
Japanese journey game.
It's a game that is a honobon. Oh, I forgot the term.
Don't massacre the word.
It's basically a game that talks about, just enjoying the moment, living the life, journeying the trip, and seeing how you can make friends. And the idea that we have currently in mind as the alternate game to Wraith is for that same group, a game wherein the group is a traveling restaurant. And they travel from town to town preparing their dishes.
Well, we're not just restaurant. We're like a farmer's market.
Yes.
So it will be selling food,
shoes,
or produce, or products.
But they travel as a group.
We haven't finalized that.
Urim is already reacting. What? Wait, what?
Oh, Urim is already saying exalted. So that's on cue. Wait, and we're still talking about our RPGs. The last campaign is Trinity.
Yes, the last
active campaign is Trinity.
I've been using it as well as a chance to sort of playtest the books.
And it's the new Trinity, not the original one.
So it's the Trinity Continuum,
yes,
which is a sci-fi pulpish type of game wherein it offers different timelines that are sort of interconnected, but now in the new version, which is the Trinity Continuum, they may or may not necessarily lead to each other.
Yeah.
But it involves people developing powers. It involves, depending on some of the other areas, space travel, conspiracy, super science, and heroism. And in our game, the players have been conscripted by something called the Mythography Group to find their missing members. But in the process of doing so, they're starting to discover that there is a more expansive worldwide event.
There's a lot going on, and then each episode's practically each episode of that game has been like featuring or referencing or homaging a different element of pop culture. So we've had
combined elements.
So like recently we rescued someone who appears to be Metroid.
Samus Aran.
If you get down to that, but of course different name. And then we encountered an X-Mansion, but it looks like there was a really big battle and they're all gone or
they lost.
Dead. Yeah, they lost very badly. All these things. So there's a lot. There's a lot brewing. A lot of mystery. But the game pacing is kind of nicely chill. So
part of the fun is seeing the players try to figure out what popular culture references are being targeted by the game.
It's hard. It's very hard because Toby digs deep, and then there was I'm googling a lot during sessions trying to figure out what the hell is going on and where are we and what's he doing. So yeah, that's our.
I blame Grant Morrison for this.
Yeah. So okay, so
that's tabletop role.
In the interest of time, but are there any other than Ryutama, any other upcoming campaigns that you're toying with?
Well, you're working on a BattleTech game.
I'm pseudo working on a BattleTech game because I don't want to play BattleTech as a war game. I want to play it as a more narrative experience. I have found a Fate conversion that I can use as a basis, and I just have no idea when I want to run it. But if I'm going to run BattleTech, I'm going to run it similar to the Great Pendragon. Whoa, lightning! I'm going to run it similar to the Great Pendragon campaign where we play year by year. Most likely either in the Succession Wars period or the Clan Invasion period. I don't know if I'm really brave enough to run a game yet, but then this is probably a system and a setting that I can handle very, very well because I've read too many of the books. Board games. So we recently dove into Escape Tales: The Awakening. Yes, we thought we just try. We didn't know how it was structured. We thought there'd be like chapters, and we can just do a few. We played through at least one iteration of the story yesterday.
And part of that game is it has multiple endings. It has a heavy story element.
Yes.
It has instances where you have to make choices where the story goes, which was amazing.
Yeah, a lot of the choice stuff is pretty cool.
And then it uses a mechanic similar to Unlock and Exit.
But closer to Unlock because it's reusable. It's replayable. It does not get destroyed.
And there was that aspect of the maps wherein you have to choose where you'll look around, which is a very interesting touch.
It feels like an adventure game to some degree because you have to choose which areas to click and then you can get items, and some of these items linger with you from location to location, and you can combine items and such. Although you don't really combine. It'll be more like the game will be like, hey, if you have this card
and this
something happens.
Yes.
Yeah. Or you can read this. So it's not bad. It's not bad at all, and I don't know how Toby found it in the secondary market. I'm glad that we have it. We've already been researching. They have released at least one other game in the system, and there's one more coming out this year. Yeah, so exciting, very exciting stuff.
There was Russian Railroads, which was
Russian Railroads,
an out of print,
another game in the
amazing
category of what the hell is this, Toby? What is this game you're excited about? And his initial selling point to me was it's out of print. That's what it tells me, because it's out of print. I can get a copy. So. Yeah, Russian Railroads. How do you want to describe Russian Railroads?
So you're all trying to build the roads, and there's 3 road lines that you have to try to build. On a 6-player game, it's only 6 rounds. There's more rounds on more players, but then
I think in a 2-player game is 6 rounds.
Sorry, 2-player game is 6 rounds. And yes, every move counts. So there's this huge pressure to try to really plan out what you'll do. But interestingly, it still catches you off guard. Like, you'll have the first few rounds, you're scoring 5-10 points. But then in the later rounds, you'll realize you scored 80 points that round. And then the next one, you scored 150 points that round. And yet, it still all balances out. So it's an amazing game if you want something that has that feel of rewarding you for really good engine planning.
Yeah. So, and then, yeah, David already highlights, yes, exponential scoring. So we can't get over the score. The points curve is insane because, yeah, we were scoring 80 to 100 points per round in the last 2 rounds. And because at first it was like super ambitious, right? It's like, okay, and I'll compare. It had a bunch of like 100-point tokens. So the score track has 100 points. So you have 100-point markers to mark every time you cross 100. So, and we see that in games, but they had a lot of tokens. And I think that's kind of crazy. The only time we saw like this many tokens was probably Machikoro. That as you buy more, as the Machikoro expansions, they give you more currency, but how the heck are you going to earn that much money? We've never reached the point where we've earned that much money. So we're thinking it's another component situation where it's the sheet, they print it out, that's it. No, it's exponential scoring.
We were shocked that for our first and only game, we hit 400.
Yeah.
The 400 range in terms of points.
I know Toby is going to whoop my ass in that game more and more once he fully acclimates to it. I'm glad I won the first game. I may never win another one. Another game we played is Fraulopolis, which is, again, what the hell is this, Toby? He's like, I got you thing, and what is this? I don't know.
So it's a micro game that uses only 18 cards. It's played cooperatively, where the group tries to fulfill the 3 different goal cards as they build the city by playing down cards. It has a very interesting mechanic of tile laying, and you're allowed to overlap some cards. And then you have to pay attention on the features because that can cause penalties and the like. And all in all,
it's cooperative SimCity.
And all in all, it was very tight, considering the card's other side was the goals.
Yeah.
So that sort of affects what cards you can use in your game.
Because there's 18 cards, 3 of those cards are your goals. 1 card is your starting card, and then that's random. Then you're just playing 15 cards.
Yes.
And that's it. That's the game. And then we thought, I think we're doing this okay, we're making stuff.
And
then we checked the points and we lost. So so much for that. Other stuff. What other board games of note?
We recently had a session of Caverna using the Forgotten Folk expansion.
Because our expansion finally arrived over the course of this.
And that allowed us to play the different character types that offer all new rooms and all new strategies when you play. I was playing the Silicoids, who didn't care for food but loved to trade it for stone, which they preferred to eat.
Yeah.
You were playing elves? No.
Humans.
I
was just humans. And I built a farming empire.
And you don't suffer from having spaces in the caverns because you're claustrophobic.
Yes. I barely developed my cave, which is so weird because I'm usually donkey and a mine guy. But the whole Forgotten Folk expansion really adds a new dimension to the game, and that was pretty cool. Of course, it's like, then I really want to play the game with our friends who we normally play Caverna with. But we'll get it. There was a lightning flash, so that's going to be a thing. And then
we also played Legendary.
Yeah, so we got a glut of expansions that arrived in the last month or so of quarantine. Shield, New Mutants. Wow. Shield, New Mutants. Heroes of Asgard,
Mm-hmm.
and James Bond.
Yes.
And Shield was cute. Shield is like a super upgrade, and it finally gives you unique Shield officers.
Yes.
Because the Maria Hill card is one of the barely anybody buys Maria Hill.
Now that there are so many other cards.
Now it's interesting again, yeah. And then so that little upgrade was nice. And then New Mutants was surprising.
Mm-hmm.
Was super surprising. As mentioned in another episode, the New Mutants first arrived as bystanders. They were unique bystanders, and then now we have playable characters for them. Magic was actually from a much earlier set, along with Cannonball. Yes. So now it gives us Mirage, Karma, Warlock, Sunspot, and I'm probably forgetting someone else. I can't remember right now. But Wolfsbane. And it added this weird light and dark mechanic, which I don't know. I mean, I'm like on the fence about it. It was interesting in practice. I don't know how well it ties to like the flavor of the New Mutants per se.
My mentions, the Sky Gods are rolling dice.
Yes, I guess it's a gaming weekend for everyone, even above or maybe below.
And then other than that, we also dove into Unlock.
Yeah, we got a new set of Unlock games. We played two of them already.
The one inspired by the Lupin.
Yeah, the French thief. That was cute. It had a nice map travel mechanic. Mm-hmm. The one before that was another addition to the No Side stories, which is like, if you played any Unlock, you're always dealing with this Dr. No Side guy, whatever. This wasn't one of the better ones, I think.
The No Side ones aren't as strong as the other ones.
I don't know, and it's like that's their own IP, so to speak, for Unlock. And then I think that they would have maybe developed it more by now, but this far into the Unlock franchise, the No Side stories are not the greatest stories. But yeah, this one with Lupin the Third as the thief, that was great. That was a lot of fun. We actually didn't get as stuck, although there was that one puzzle that
frustrated us.
So, and then what was the other thing we did? And I forgot what the last expansion is for.
We finished Detective.
We finished Detective, guys. Yeah, that's one thing we did this quarantine period. I'm so glad that we did. And then, but that's like the base game campaign. Yes. So I still have the standalone Suburbia story.
We have Dig Deeper coming up.
There's the nature one. And
there's the LA stories as well.
LA stories. So we have watched a lot of stuff. We have to map out the next campaign and who the campaign group is. Detective games are a little tedious to play online, but it can be done. It super can be done through the wonders of technology and shared desktop publishing. We have Google Drive active. We have shared documents. We have Jamboards for mind mapping and case plotting. It's a lot of stuff. But yeah, it's one of the more social games, but more difficult to balance because then everybody's internet has to be okay.
So we're down to our last few minutes. Things to look forward to. We have the upcoming expansion for, oh my gosh, what was its name? Unfair. We're getting the new cards.
Oh yeah, you secured that. Okay. Yeah.
We
always bought a lot of things that I'm not fully aware.
We tried to lock down the other expansion, the Cosmic expansion
for Legendary. Yeah, so that'll be forthcoming.
We're hopefully going to get as well the Fortune and Glory expansions, which is the Spider Queen.
Really, you pre-ordered it? Okay. And then we have Detective Season 1.
Yes.
So it's funny because there's the main box, but then they've made a separate 3 case campaign called Detective Season 1. So that's coming. And another expansion for Empires of the North, this time Barbarians. We still haven't played Roman Banners.
Yes.
Empires of the North is like super growing. Oh, and we have a Imperial Settlers Rise of Empires, which is the campaign mode for Imperial Settlers.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that.
It's like, I'm excited to play, but at the same time, it's like, I kind of want more people involved. But then the way this quarantine is going, I think Toby and I will just start a campaign so that we play it.
I actually miss Seafall. We haven't finished that.
We haven't finished our Seafall campaign.
We have our Pandemic Legacy game that's still on hold.
Also, Legacy Season 2.
Yes.
So I'm thankful for the other campaign games we've been able to bring online, but a lot of our other games are kind of stuck in limbo. So It's not a great time for legacy games. I gotta admit. If your game is not portable online, or I don't know, or if you're, it's a thing. It's a thing, guys.
And even if you play it online, you still will miss out on that tactile nature of quacking.
Yeah, I mean, like I was trying to think about Escape Tales. Like, could we play Escape Tales online? And like, it's not the same because a lot of the puzzle cards are double-sided, and then you want to be able to manipulate that together. So not a good candidate for online play. I don't know, unless there's an online conversion on one of the board game platforms.
That's true. And Tangarden. I guess that's to wrap it up. We have been playing a bunch of Tangarden.
Oh yeah, because that was like another game that arrived mid-quarantine, and then it's beautiful. I feel like I need to go back to Tokaido to like refresh my memory of also beautiful games. But then Tangarden, good run for your money. That's a great one.
So Adrian just adds Seafall. I missed that so much. And Unfair. And that's our comments.
On YouTube, Andre, of course, is like, wishes you could play with us. And he also wants to play Imperial Settlers. So that's something. And then someone said we look really photogenic on camera. So I don't know who this person is.
Thank you, Mind the Times.
Mind the Times.
So I guess looking forward,
getting out of quarantine.
Until that happens, there's always the possibility of one-shot games online. It's just tricky to invest time on a one-shot because it also means if, let's say, you're having a 3-hour game, how much of that time will be spent teaching people the system of that game?
And then making sure you can hear each other. Hi, are you okay? Can you see my screen?
And all those micro delays of, okay, roll. And we're like, waiting possibly 10 to 50 seconds. Because
you gotta type in your syntax, exclamation, roll, dice type, all these labels.
And they're not complaints. It's just that it's the reality of it all. Compared to a normal game session, we're in, clank. Okay, we have the results. Let's move on.
Jeanette misses Unfair in Suburbia with us. Flip misses Feast for Odin. We had a friend recently asking about it. Like, oh my god, we don't own a copy, but we have played many games of Feast for Odin. Yeah, that's a thing. And it's just frustrating as our collection continues to grow. Our board game collection continues to grow. I just miss playing with people.
But ultimately, we'll just keep going.
Yeah, I mean, we still gotta practice social distancing, but I'm sure we can figure out socially distant ways to play board games still. Or I don't know if we'll have a full PPE game where like we're all in masks and shields at a table just so that we can play together. I think we're reaching that point in quarantine. Like, we understand the risks. We also want to figure out ways to still be sane because this has been like 6 months of minimal social interaction with friends and family and no venues for entertainment. I mean, like no theater, no movies. Things.
No event places.
No event places, no bars, no.
A lot of events have moved to the online setting. I know Indie Fiesta is coming out this year online.
Yeah, for ESGS.
I'm not sure if it's fully ESGS or if it's Indie Fiesta
on its
standalone.
Well,
I'll wait for
that usually be forthcoming, yeah.
But I know that there are also a number of conventions that are trying to do an online thing. Book Fair already had an announcement about that as well. So let's wait and see how the pandemic will allow us to still connect with our fandoms and with our loves.
Yeah, although like a lot of online conventions are just a bunch of YouTube videos, so I'm just like, okay, thanks. I attended Comic-Con because I got to watch videos. I attended Gen Con because I got to watch videos, and I mean it's okay. It's the constraint, but we haven't quite. I think people haven't quite innovated what else to do. This is probably another topic. I'm gonna stop here. Okay. So,
but yeah, that's our 30 minutes. We had a lot of fun, and we'll hope you'll join us again next time.
Where'd it go? Yeah. Should you have questions for us, or should you have suggestions for future episodes, like this? What do we talk about on a more chill day? Then feel free to submit to bit.ly Baduy Pride Ideas. You can follow us on Twitter, @AllTobyNoShade, and then I'm RG Suniko.
You can also check out our blog, that's baduypride.com, for previous episodes, pictures, and other posts about us. Yeah. Flip just adds, yes, Indie Fiesta will be on its own this year.
You can do it, Flip. We support you.
So, yeah.
Boom. Yeah. And then, yes, feel free to continue the conversation in the comments below. What games have you been playing, whether in person under safe conditions or online through whatever platforms? What are you doing? Be sure to subscribe for notifications, whether on Facebook or YouTube, so you don't miss our next live stream. Once again, I'm Rocky.
I'm Toby.
And this is Baduy Pride. And then we're going to have to do end
Thank you for watching.
Thanks for joining us on a Sunday night. Okay. Are we doing open mouth smile? Is that it?